we go live on YouTube. Okay, so Sceiba is a VLIR-US joint project. VLIR-US is the North-South organization related to VLIR, as probably most of you know. And this project is focusing on improving the quality control and monitoring of scientific research output in Cuba and in Peru. It's a cooperation where 6 universities are working closely together. In Cuba, the University of Havana, of Pinar del Rio. In Peru, 2 universities in Lima, USIL and UNALM. UNALM is a university who already worked a long time in VLIR-US projects in the IOC project form. From Belgium, we have Hasselt University and the University of Antwerp participating directly. The leading role, in fact, is by the Cuban partners. The Peruvian are bringing in their input also to have another point of view than only the national point of view. But we see that development and so on is very strongly based in Cuba at the moment, and with a very strong support of UNALM and in a lesser way from USIL. Can I go? No, I have to do that page down. Okay. So the outcomes are in fact about strengthening the methods of evaluation and monitoring of the research output, and the integration of research evaluation methodologies in the international context, with a general objective to enhance the quality of scientific publications. Now, we have to look at the specific context as well. We are in Cuba, in Peru, in Latin America, in countries with strong Spanish-oriented culture, also on the level of research. A lot is published in Spanish, and not always integrated in the international research culture in the way. Therefore, it is an interesting case to see how we can look at evaluation, how we can look also how to enhance the visibility and the quality of these scientific publications. So that's a little bit, in a few words, the background of the project. Therefore, Sceiba, and with Johannes and Eduardo in the leading role, have worked on a policy development, a policy document that you already have seen, and also some practical guidelines. At the same time, we have a group of IT specialists at Pinar del Rio who have developed a lot of tools and services. And about these tools and services, that we will discuss next time, the 1st of June. But the policy and the guidelines are basics to develop also the tools and the services. But for example, I can already tell that Rafael and his team has worked within Venio, are working to integrate ideas of ORC-ID, GRID, and so on, of using Workbench for for vocabularies and such things like that. But that's a topic for next week. Okay, this is the context, and I think that surely this is also the roadmap going to create a platform, say by core, where research output is collected, and also transformed and exposed again. And this exposure is also relevant for visibility. Using identification systems. They are working on that at the moment, and finalizing to integrate the policies and the guidelines in monitoring and evaluation tools. This is that roadmap for the tools. Now, today we are going to talk about the policies, and that's in the first place to contribute to the improvement of the quality of scientific publications. It's derived from the goals of the project, and also to have information to develop strategies to promote scientific research in the country, but also to make it visible, and also to look at open science, open access, and open research data. I have seen there were on that level a few remarks already about quality of how to evaluate quality, and also how to work with these principles of open science and so on. I think now, Johannes, maybe you can go deeper in the content of the documents.
Okay, thank you, Mar. So, yes?
Yes, one little remark. I see.
Okay.
I forgot to put my camera. I put it on again, maybe. One little remark. If you have questions, put it in the chat, and then we can collect them and reply to them. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I want to share with you some details about the policy. And also, Mar have mentioned that we based our proposal in the analysis of the national higher education system of Cuba and Peru, the peculiarity of each country, scientific publications, and the good international practices. Also, we want to present a proposal that could be used as input of a national system for evaluation and monitoring scientific publications. So what we are proposing is mainly based on a bibliometric approach, considering all types of publications, not only those published in national journals, but also in foreign journals. And we put also in the last part of the document a section relating to the strengthening of capacity for evaluating and monitoring the scientific publications, because we really believe that if we want to improve quality, we need to improve the competencies of the researchers, the reviewers, and all the agents that are in interaction with the scientific publication system. Can you go to the next one, please, Mar? Okay, thank you. So mainly we want to present you the point 5 and 6 related to the evaluating and monitoring of scientific publications. In point 5, we present the level of evaluating and monitoring. And in this case, we establish that we are focusing on the visibility and the impact of those publications. And also, we established that we would like to evaluate at national and institutional level, desegregated by area of knowledge and based on total counts. Related to the criteria, we have developed also, as Mar has said, that we explain that in detail in the guidelines. And that is important for us is that we want to avoid bias in the result and possible distortion of good practice in scientific publication. So in the document, we put some key points related to that. Can you go to the next one, please? About the responsibility and evaluation of monitoring. We established that in this case, this policy will be applied for all the institutions attached to the Ministry of Higher Education of Ministry of Education for Peru. And in that case, we think that that ministry should appoint the department that will be in charge of developing those processes. Also, it's important to state that it should be taken into considerations the issues that the main institution of each country related to science and research can establish. So in all cases, the implementation of this policy should be aligned with SIGMA or WISET. Also, we are proposing the need to establish an advisory commission in order to audit, establish the criteria. Also, it will be very important for the validation of the respective working documents and tools. And this commission also will be able to present some recommendations that will be delivered to the institution for the establishment of the goals, measures, and also it should be taken into consideration in the budget. So we can go to the next. In point 6, related to the development of monitoring and evaluation process, as mentioned before, the Ministry of Education or Higher Education, through its designated department, as well as each attached institution, are responsible for the proper implementation of this policy and must guarantee ethical practice in the evaluation and monitoring process of scientific publications, identifying conflict of interests, bad practices, and also each institution, we are proposing that must have a registration system for scientific publication. Also, the development of that system will be in accordance with what we expect according to the schedule that we defined in the document named Guideline for the Evaluation and Monitoring Scientific Publications. It is important in in this policy also that at institutional level, it must be promoted availability and accessibility through open access to metadata of its publication registration system. As publications, we established that it must be promoted at national and institutional level the use of persistence indicators of authors and institutions in order to guarantee the correct identification of scientific publications. And the importance to implement some mechanisms that guarantee the quality of the scientific publication channels that are managed in the Cuban or Peruvian higher education systems. For example, they can implement alternative forms of quality control to peer review. In our proposal, it is also that academic journals or publishers from higher education must follow editorial procedures that guarantee the quality of their content, compliance with international standards, and ensure that they do not engage with the predatory practices. Related to the availability of metadata, it is recommended that they be registered and managed in automated systems that allow the processing and analysis of their metadata. And also, it is important to clearly define who will be the providers, who will be in charge of collecting that metadata, and the mechanism of its validation, because most of the time the source where Cuban researchers publish are not included in well-known databases like Web of Science or Scopus, and it's important to establish some kind of mechanism that ensure that all scientific articles can be included in the evaluation. And in the case of the Cuban proposal, this is very specific for Cuba. We are formulating that all journals for of the institution attached to the Ministry of Higher Education or managed by its different departments area must be included in the directory of scientific publication that we already have developed in the framework of this project. So in the next one, we have some key points related to the accessibility and audience. And mainly we said that it will contribute to the transparency in the evaluation of scientific publication. That's why we are stating that the result of evaluations should be made public to all those people that are interested in that kind of product. Also, we are establishing that the result of evaluation will be presented to the competent national entities so they can be useful for strategic projection and decision making. And of course, we are proposing that the metadata and some other information or data that will be produced during the exercise of evaluation and monitoring can be downloaded, and always protecting the personal and classified data, of course. Thank you, Mar.
Okay. Thank you, Johannes. Sorry, I was a little bit confused at a certain moment with the presentation, but I hope that people could still follow well what Johannes has presented. Any comments at the moment? Any remarks? They are all welcome. Otherwise, Eduardo can explain a little bit more about the main aspects of the guidelines document, because based on the policy, there has been developed a guidelines document to specify how to make that evaluation and to what sort of resources are used. Eduardo, okay, I'm going to the next slide.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Of course, now following the policies, we prepare guidelines. And in this case, of course, we follow some structure similar to the policies. However, we include some particularities. No, you can see in the left side of the presentation the structure we propose. There is an introduction, goals, level of evaluation, definitions, object of evaluation, dimension to evaluate, criteria of evaluation, evaluation schema, also evaluation and monitoring timeline, data source and procedure to collect the necessary information, governance of the data, and annexes. We select some of the most important parts to present to you, and we will appreciate some comments to improve how we are doing our approach for the evaluation. No? We identify as relevant two main issues, one related to achieve quality, no? One related to visibility, and second one related to academic impact. For visibility, we consider a total of 6 criteria: indexing, accessibility, interoperability, openness, internationalization, presence and dissemination, and general academic social network. No? And we think that from these 6 criteria, at least 3 of them should be basic ones. No? That if we assume that an institution has some advance in this part, at least they should be considered that they are going in a good way. Then for the complementary, it's ideal that they will have that. In terms of academic impact, there are also 4 criteria, considering 2 basic and 2 complementary. No? In the basic, we put citation and positioning in rankings, and complementary impact on general and academic social network. Next, please. So then what we did for each criteria, it was to define the level, no? At least to be considered as high, quality should include the high levels in basic criteria, for example, no? And should be medium or high, depending of the other criteria, because we know that it's very difficult that a journal or a book or a editorial institution can fulfill all the requirements. So we try to do a mix between basic and achievement, no? The achievement of the criteria at the high or medium level. Of course, that is, for example, in the case of high compared with low. No, if we see low, is that they they don't fulfill the requirements, or at least they don't fulfill all the requirements to do that. The next one, please. The same for impact, no? We did a combination of high, medium, and low based on the criteria. As I said, in the first part, in visibility, there are six criteria, and in the second one, 4 criteria, no? And in the impact, for example, not in visibility, I said 4 criteria. For example, the combination between citation and position in journal ranking, no? So if we take, for example, height, it should be high or medium level in citation and high or medium level in position on rankings, no? Compared with low, that we don't expect really more in terms of citation on position on journal, no? The next one, please. So at the end, the combination of visibility and impact should give us a quality level, as I said, no? So if there is an institution with competitive quality level, should have high visibility and high or medium impact. For the quality level in development, I mean, it's a medium one, it should be a combination, for example, of medium visibility plus high or medium or low impact, and low visibility but plus high impact. No, there is a combination, because also we know that there are some journals or some books or editorials that probably have high impact but not necessarily high visibility. So we try to do a mix of these type of possibilities to put a ranking where a journal can be or a book can be. And finally, for the embryo quality level, is that they have low visibility and medium or low impact. No, the more details you can see in the document. No, the next one, please. And we just took an example for scientific journals, the evaluation of scientific journals. We says that in visibility, we have 6 criteria, and then for impact, we have 4. And this is the description. This is in the annex. The description, for example, for indexing, no? The criteria for indexing, we expect that high indexing is that the journal is indexing at least 2 specialized databases, no? And it should be also endorsed in more than 1 journal evaluation system, one of them being DOAG, no? If we see the low one, is that it's not registered in any international summary or nothing, no? And that is the similar for the next one. Can you go for the next one, please? For example, the same for accessibility, no?
It's there.
Sorry, yes, the same for accessibility and the same for, can you move a little bit fast? Because I think we are not going to take now this into account. For interoperability, it was just to show you in these slides how we are building this, no? The different criteria, no? The other one is interoperability. The next one, please. And the fourth one is open access, no? And next one, please. Also, we have international perspective. One more. And dissemination and presence in general and academic social networks. But you see, there is a big combination of criteria and sub-criteria to be considered as high, medium, or low. The next one. In the case of impact, we say that we also have criteria. One is citation. In this case, we are considering the citation and journal ranking, no? If it's in Q1 or Q2 in Web of Science or Scopus Shimago or JCR, and if it's not in the ranking, is low. So it's a lot of combinations. So we build this as a team, but we would like the opinion of the expert in this structure for the evaluation. No, I think the details of this combination are in the annex of the documents, and we will appreciate your comments because we did that for journals, for books, and also for the editorials, book chapters. So we try to do a complete analysis, and of course, in this short period, will be very difficult to analyze individually. No, so we expect that maybe you can give us some feedback in the documents. No, I think that is in general, Mark.
Sorry, I forgot to put on my microphone. Pascal asked also to have information about the volume, how many journal articles and such things like that. Maybe Pascal, can you precise your question? Pascal, we don't hear you. Your voice.
Okay, you don't. I said, sorry, my mic was off. I said it was an excellent presentation, and I just want to know how many journals and or how many articles are published per year in Cuba to have an idea.
You had it.
Yes, thank you, Pascal. We have 200 Cuban scientific journals certified by Sceiba, the Ministry of Science and Technology. But the majority of them are from the sector of higher education, and the total amount, for example, from 2005 to 2018, we have more or less 8,000 of articles in that period. So I don't know if that is good enough for answer you.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any remarks at the moment? I see some people are putting remarks in the document. And I was looking already this morning at a few comments from Raf, Pascal, and a little bit later from Frederick. One of the questions, and maybe Raf, you can go deeper on that, is about the qualitative and quantitative approach. Maybe can you a little bit give comment on what your concern is? Is Raf still not here? Okay. Okay, I see. I think he's not here yet, so he cannot answer. Okay, that's a little. But okay, then about. I think what we see in this presentation is that probably we have to be careful with what is quality. Huh? In the end, it has been derived from a high level of impact at the moment and from visibility. And when you have both, the conclusion in our policy and our guidelines is high quality. Is that a good? Do we have to be careful with this? because quality can be a complete other approach as well. Anybody wants to comment about that?
Mark, yes, I think it's really a good question, and it was difficult for us to define, But with Joannis, we're thinking to define quality in with indicators that we can measure, no? That's why we choose visibility and impact, and then we try to do combinations because we know that it's very difficult sometimes that the both could be achieved in the same level, no? So that was just I was trying to show with the presentation about the guidelines, no? Just to indicate that.
But maybe we have to look at the terminology. I think it's a correct conclusion, but maybe because when we talk about quality of a document, it's more about the content and not about the impact and the visibility. So maybe we have to change that. I can think about it. Because when you think about qualitative approach, then it's more about a sort of extra review or about what is in the publication itself or in the journal.
Yeah, yes, I agree, Mar. Also, maybe is the way we formulate that, but what we are proposing is that the result of the implementation of this policy can contribute to a more comprehensive evaluation. So, because we have, for example, in Cuban context, we have the problem that scientific publications are mainly evaluated from visibility, and in some cases, they include some criteria related to academic impact. So, in a way, we was looking the idea to present that visibility and impact, mainly academic impact, are not a complete approach to evaluate scientific publications.
Okay. It's also a remark that Frederick gave about quality, about where is it again? That it is maybe it's more about usefulness than quality. When you talk about impact and visibility, when it has an impact, it has been used a lot, and that's something else than quality sometimes. I think we have to look at it, and maybe if people have can give some comment on that, that would be fine in the document or directly now. It's one aspect. Another remark in the proposal document was about the registration system. We're talking about collecting all these documentation. First of all, Johannes, maybe you can a little bit explain how the information is at the moment already collected for in the Sceiba platform. What sort of information you already can collect?
Okay. And maybe also Rafael can help me.
Yes, Rafael can
So
help, of course.
the main idea is that we don't have a national system for scientific publication. That's why we are demanding from institutions that an input for Sceiba. At the same time, we don't have the same level of development in each institution. Some of them have an implementation of Vivo in a in a production stage. Others have a sort of Excel file with all the information. And the main problem that we face in the conception of Sceiba was that that we don't have one place where to go and collect all the information that we need. So that's why we are asking that each institution must have a registration system, because at the same time, as I said, not all journals, for example, are in database. Some of them are still printed. And in that case, it's important for us to have access to those metadata. That's why we are stating that.
May I?
Rosanna wants to say something. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Roxanne.
do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I understand the complexity. That's also why I mentioned this. I could imagine it's even the case in Belgium. Not every institution, and there's a lot of different institutions, large ones, small ones, and so on, and not everyone has the same research infrastructure in place for managing and publishing research output. But this, how it's formulated here, is very restrictive. It's like you're explicitly saying that you're expecting them to have a registration system, and also to be able those registration systems be able to publish the metadata of the publications. So you're actually putting all of the effort with the institutions, large and small, and not with the ministry funding agencies. On the one hand, I hear you say, okay, you will allow Excel and so on. But of course, if it's Excel, then they're not in the capability of making the second paraphrase possible, that each institution must promote availability and accessibility by its publication of the metadata in its publication registration system. So if they're managing everything in Excel or in Access and so on, I doubt that they have a publication system in place. So I would just, I don't know, perhaps it's done this way because that's how you want to have it, and how you want to push them towards having a registration system, but I just don't think it's doable for all institutions.
It will always be an issue, but there are two things. First of all, surely in the Cuban situation, you have a ministry that organizes the whole education, and that will help also of a development of such a system. In the past, they had some solutions already, but which are not completely what is needed. At the same time, in fact, this project is part of a follow-up of another project of LIROS, which is called ALINF, from the Cuban network with with 5 universities who are experimenting of development of infrastructure for e-learning, for research management, and for an integrated approach of information on that level. So on that level, you see that there is an evolution. And also we have to look at what happened in Flanders. It's not built in one day, the whole VABB. And so that's also the reason why Antwerp is involved in the project, to learn from the Flanders experience. But it's something that has to be built up slowly, but at the same time, already we can look at other ways to get information. And Raphael can maybe explain how he's doing at the moment, how he's collecting the information.
Yes. Hello. I want to say that I agree in a way of what Roxanne is saying about that. I mean, we are here at the University of Pinar del Rio, and we are a small university, but we have here in Cuba smaller universities than the University of Pinar del Rio. So the idea of, I'm agree that there is some institutions that for which it's not possible to have those registration system. So I think we can look at the quote of Roxanne and about how we collect the metadata, the information. Well, I mean, then in the next session I will talk deeper about that. But basically, we are using the standards protocols like OAI from the Cuban journals directly, and also some institutions have those systems, and we are collecting information from those systems too. I don't know, Mark, if
for example, Pinar has a DSpace,
yes.
UCLV has DSpace, and so on.
Yes.
And many of the when they are electronically available, the journals, they are on an OGS platform, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Hmm?
But it's when I say that, for instance, the Pinar have DSpace for institutional repositories, also University of Havana and UCLV, and we have also the Cuban journals, and that mainly use open journal system, meaning that we have DSpace and open journal system that implements the standard protocols to collect all the information. But at the same time, we have smaller institutions like the University of the Youth Iceland, the smaller Iceland besides Cuba, have also a university, and they don't have, for instance, the possibility to host a journal or host an institutional repository. They don't have servers or even work a team for manage that. So I think that technically,
but at the same time, sorry, yes. Raphael, I think there are two aspects. The infrastructure,
yeah.
And then you can say, okay, they don't have the infrastructure. But as Rudy explained in his in his explanation about DevOps last time. It's more about how to organize the service, and it doesn't have to be locally all the time. The commitment to have registration system should be supported by, of course, by the ministry, but at the same time can be organized, outsourced, for example.
But that's what my point. It is how it's formulated right now. It is not. It's putting all the obligation with the institution, and none at all with the ministry, who should support the institutions, either with offering us like a central infrastructure, or it could be just having helping them to set out a collaboration between institutions and so on, so they can use the system of a bigger institution. Now you're putting all the obligation, how it's formulated right now, with the institution, and there's no reference to how the ministry will help to facilitate this. And that's for me what is missing here.
Okay. I understand now what you, but I think at the same time, again, you can make a difference between registration system as a service and how to organize it. But okay, this infrastructure aspect is not dealt in the document. Okay, we have to look at maybe to put something about
also Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, that the thing that it must be an obligation of the institution is to provide the information, the data. I think is the key element.
Yes, you're right. It's less about the registration system, but that they have to deliver the information in a certain format.
Yeah.
Like a bit like VABB has defined formats for delivering.
Okay.
Johannes, some point of view on that?
No, it's okay. It's a very good remark. When we write this, we wasn't thinking about automated system. We was thinking about a procedure, a method for registering scientific publications, because in a way it can be in a good Excel or CBS file, and you can use to import in Sceiba or in another platform. But it's a very good remark to think about how to involve the obligation and responsibility of the ministry in the development of the infrastructure for a platform. Thank you.
Another remark, a lot of remarks about the metadata, and I think that it is in a way correct that there is not much mentioned about open data, about open access, about open science. But I think it's also because there is another document that was prepared in a workshop in Lima just about this topic. But maybe we have to refer to that, to the proposal of policy on open access. Now, sorry, I was a little bit too quick with the previous remark of Roxanne about the registration system. Maybe Eduardo, can you tell a little bit about Peru? What's happening with on that level? Because there is a policy in Peru on that level. Eh?
Yes. Well, the National Council for Science and Technology 5 or 6 years ago developed some policies regarding to the identification of researchers First they create a platform called DINA to make that all the researchers register themselves, but they realize that it's not an ideal system because and they cannot ensure the quality of information. So now the policy is that all the institutions should move to a CRIS, a national CRIS. There are funding from the World Bank to implement a national CRIS, and they are promoting that all institutions develop their institutional CRIS. So that is more or less the idea at national level. Of course, at the institutional level, the university have problems because they don't have the capacities and also the funds for implementing the CRIS, But the policy is at least from the National Council clear that they would like to move forward to an CRIS system, which is the most international one.
Eduardo, we are losing you, I think.
But did you hear what I said?
The last, when you were talking about Pure, I guess. Was it?
Can you hear me?
Or about this space, Chris? What was? Yes, now we can hear you, but we lost you.
Okay. What I said is that at national level there is a policy to try to implement research information systems, and that is something that the government is pushing. They are trying to implement a national CRIS, and they are supporting that all the universities should have also pure or institutional CRIS, So in that sense, all the information will be managed using ORCID and international standards, But however, I think the tool that we are proposing is also to promote a self-evaluation of journals and books where probably universities don't have access to invest a lot of money for this type of CRIS system. Maybe ideally, I think in Peru, probably in the next 5 or more years, we can implement the CRIS, but not for the moment, So I think this policy could be also useful for most of our institutions in Peru as well,
That's the idea, I think. I see that Pascal from AWI in Belgium also made some remarks that the government supports the building of research infrastructure in different ways and also give financial support to build their system from small and also to some multi-tenant environment with small institutions that can be shared by small institutions and used for free.
Can you hear me now?
Pascal?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted to give an example because it's true that it requires quite some effort for institutions to set up and manage a system to gather all this information about publications and other research information. And this is something we are, the government in Flanders is promoting for many years now, and it's still a process that is ongoing. And the Flemish government supports the building of this infrastructure in institutions by several means. So we have direct funds sometimes for the bigger institutions. And for smaller institutions which do not have means to build their own IT system, we have another solution, that is that we bought from the ministry, we bought a pure license, and this is set up as a multi-tenant environment where several smaller institutions can use it in a shared way. So it's not tuned to their own institution, but they have a shared platform which they can use to gather information on publications, for instance. Another example of an initiative is the schools for higher education in Flanders. These are all rather small institutions, and they did not have a good system for collecting this information. And instead of each of them separately trying to develop something, they joined forces and sent one proposal to the minister to build a joint platform for all schools of higher education so that they can share the cost. And the minister has decided to give some funding to help build this infrastructure. So this is just a few examples of how the ministry in Flanders is helping to build this.
It's even not only for in Belgium, but simply these projects are supported by VLIG and by the Belgian Ministry of for ontwikkeling for development. And so, for example, in this project, we sent a few servers that are used for this project, for example. And in Unalm, they were involved in a 10-year project, also supported by 12-year project, also supported by VLIG-OS. In that way, Flanders gives a lot of support for this type of development at the moment. Okay, maybe we can go back. It is interesting, but of course, Cuba has another. It's a complete other system anyway. There is a strong centralistic approach on all these policies. Everything has to be accepted on the level of the ministry anyway. So the ministry will guide how it's going. In Peru, it's different. Eduardo, what are the possibilities for infrastructure support from the ministry? Eduardo? Okay. Eduardo is, I don't hear you. But then we go to the next point about the metadata. And so I think already some questions have been answered. Pascal asked about automatically collected metadata. In a way, it can be if as Raphael already explained about the electronic journals who are using OGS and also the repositories already available in Cuba. But about the openness, I think it is important that there is not really a mention about the really open science approach. I think there is a separate document, and I think we have to link it together. When we talk, the other document is available. But that's only in Spanish at the moment. It's this document. Okay, it's coming. Oh yes. A proposal of a strategy for open science and open education for the institutions in the Ministry of Higher Education in Cuba. So, but at the moment, I think it's important probably to be more specific or to relate it to that other document. Also, I think. Okay. Any comments that you think that I missed that I'm not talking about here at the moment that that we can talk about this policy document? Otherwise, I'm going to the guidelines document. Okay, no comments. Then the guidelines. I think we have lesser comments on that, but I think there was one comment where Pascal Aventurier, because we have two Pascals here today. Pascal, you have seen now in the document where the dissemination in general and academic social networks are taken in account. But you want to make some comments about it?
Yes, thank you, Mark. I think that's maybe it's not a good idea to include some academic social networks like ResearchGate and academia. That's my point of view, but I think there's not metrics that you can control in this kind of networks, and also the authors, the journals can trick with the systems really easily. So I don't know why you put this in your criteria, and it's just a question. And otherwise, I agree with Frederick when he said that institutional repository, open archive, should be maybe more enhanced, because it's also another way to, for duplicate the information, but also to give more visibility and more impact.
Johannes?
And also, I think that when we are building a policy in Europe or everywhere, we don't use this kind of system. So you need to build a system that can also have credit, and that's also the part of my question. But
I'm at the same time a bit afraid that this is an issue that goes further than only the research gates and so on, because in the end we are using Web of Science, Scopus, which are also commercial tools.
yes, but with Web of Science, you cannot trick so much. In academia, you can build, I don't know, 10 profiles, different profiles, and make something. So, and also the criteria is not very clear inside these platforms.
So more on that level, it's not okay. No, academia. That was a comment of Johannes that therefore she had more doubts about academia than about ResearchGate, because we discussed it, and then academia was. You told me that it was you had a lot of doubts, but on ResearchGate, it's you have similar issues.
Maybe you can explain why you put this inside your policy, and maybe it's a good idea. I don't know, but I don't think.
No, okay. The main motivation here was to make a sort of balance between some evaluation system for academic institutions, and also we took in consideration some results from research about the relation between the dissemination in social network and impact, academic impact. As you know, the university rankings are gaining some importance in the for the authority of academic institutions. And one dimension that they measure is what they call as social impact. In social impact, they measure some presence of the scientific productions in, for example, Mendeley. Also, they took in consideration some mentions, some metrics related to mentions in Facebook, Twitter, and so on. I think that we don't need to give a lot of importance to that criteria, but we should take into consideration because also institutions are trying to be positioned in those rankings, and it is considered as important. So in that case, of course, I agree that academia should not be promoted. I think that they give fake metrics. That's the main reason. And that's why we put Mendeley. I know that the ResearchGate have some, how can I say, have some problems related to ethical issues. But at the same time, ResearchGate is an space to share scientific publication, is a forum for making questions, for promoting what are you doing, what are you researching. That's the main points that we take into consideration. We took in consideration to put those criteria here.
So it's something to take in account anyway. Also, Google Scholar, there are also possibilities sometimes to manipulate to manipulate the metrics in that. I understand sometimes the citations and these things. So that's the problem in the end is how can you measure while not always going to the simple Scopus and Web of Science approach. I think it's good to find other ways, and it can be sometimes tricky, that's true, but okay, that we have to take in account. Okay, I think that was the major remark here. I didn't see any, maybe in the meantime there have been more remarks here. And okay, about the H-index, Pascal, you can use it for as well for a journal, a department, and its institute. It's mostly in Web of Science as for an individual, but in the end you can use it for all entities where which have a lot of publications. Even on an article you could do it, but then you could have 1 or 0 only as an H-index. That's it. Okay. Are there Okay. Okay. So I think we have those two documents open for all comments. We will work further on it. We will also have to translate it again to the Spanish version. All these comments. Normally, we will have on the 1st of June a second session specifically about the Sceiba platform, and that's in the first place Rafael from Pinar del Rio, who will explain about the technical development, but also how it is related to the guidelines that are developed here. On that level, if you have other remarks, you're always welcome. The more, the better. And then we have to think about how to adapt it. Also, one of the aspects of the guidelines, the first draft was, I think, had 3 times more criteria. There was a limitation to see about the possibility to realize it, all these evaluations. So you see, this is in evolution all the time, and we are very thankful that you assisted this session, and we will work again further on the document. You will see that result, and we will share that with you later. There will be also in June a similar session, but then with Latin American experts, and that will be with the Spanish documents. Also on that level, we wanted to separate that because for the language issue. Okay. Any comments further? Same from okay. It's all from academic networks. You should be interested to mention in an addition why you choose to put inside the criteria. Sorry, Pascal, I don't. Can you comment on that? What you? Pascal, Aventurier, you said something about academic networks. What? Can you comment about it?
Yes, sorry, my mic was off. Yes, well, I don't know if it's appropriate, but maybe this kind of discussion and why you chose to put this academic social network maybe should be mentioned in the document as a method. Maybe, I don't know.
I agree with that. We have to, if we keep it, we have to explain it. Huh? We have to give more comments about it. That's for sure. Eh? That's the reason it's a discussion point, and if there are other ways to look at with the altmetrics approach, that's something to look at. Maybe we will discuss that, and we will come back to it, and then you can give your critical comments again. Okay, thank you very much for attending, and we will see most of you again in 2 weeks on the 1st of June.
Muchas gracias.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Stream.